Good morning and happy Friday. Who's excited it's the weekend? Raise your hand. I am excited. It is Friday. I'm Crystal Moyer. Thank you for watching Breakfast with Bridgett here on News 6 Plus. ClickOrlando.com, YouTube, wherever you are watching. We appreciate it. Bridgett has the day off. She's going to have an extended weekend, so y'all are stuck with me. Anyway, so we have a lot to get through today, including a launch that just happened not too long ago, the Centaur Vulcan rocket. So we've been talking about that and how it's going to just change space and make things a little bit cheaper. We're going to get into that and show you some video of that. Also, we have a very special story from one of my colleagues, Tom. He was on the show a while back talking about the Make-A-Wish Foundation, but he has had experience with childhood cancer. So it is October, and I know September was Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So we're just going to talk a little bit about his experiences. And there are a lot of kids out there experiencing cancer right now, and we want to, of course, bring some awareness to that. And of course, we're going to talk about our Hits the Road next stop, Pine Hills. But first, I know you guys want to know about the weather. Let's see how the weather's going with meteorologist Michelle Morgan. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. We finally made it.
We made it. It's been a week. If you guys know Michelle, she is all over the place with her schedule. She does it all. She builds graphics. Okay. And she's also a scientist because she's a meteorologist. She does web stories. She does the newsletter. What don't you do in that weather department?
I don't nap.
Oh, well, that's good.
Sometimes I need a nap, but I don't do that.
Cool. At least don't say it on here. The boss might be watching.
Wait a minute. That's why I couldn't find you.
So you're talking about how we're going to be experiencing some dry air for a couple of days, but those rain chances, they're creeping back up by the end of the weekend, right?
Yes, they are. And you know what? Even though we've been getting so much rain, I mean, we had a little break, but we're still below average for the entire year. So
wow.
Some areas, I know it's really unbelievable. Some areas are below 10, even 15 inches, again, below that normal rate. So some spots really need the rain, some others really don't. So it's really hit or miss, but it looks like many of us will get some soaking rain as we head into Monday and Tuesday. So if you're looking for rain, it's on the way. So let's go ahead.
It's coming.
Let's get right into it. So here's a live look outside in Daytona Beach. Gorgeous shot. The water looks so inviting. The sun is up, a few high level clouds, but there's a high rip current risk today, and I do think it's going to last into the weekend. Believe it or not, we are tracking two named storms out in the open Atlantic, and Hurricane Kirk is one of them. It is a Category 4 hurricane with winds, as I last checked, 145 miles per hour. That might have changed, but nonetheless, it's still a very strong storm. And even though it's over 1,000 miles away from our east coast, it is going to indirectly impact the coast. So we're looking at a rough surf, high rip current risk. So all of the coastal hazards in place for the weekend. So just make sure you're being careful. So Daytona Beach, you're at 74. Winds are nice and light, and the humidity is at 97%. For the rest of Central Florida, 81 in Melbourne, Orlando, Lakeland, Winter Haven at 77, and Ocala, good morning, you're at 75 degrees. So your forecast for today, only calling for a 20% chance for isolated showers and storms. That dry air really helping to keep those chances for rain and storms pretty low today. Still hot with a high of 91 degrees. And if you miss out on the rain, you'll see partly cloudy skies. As you take a look at your highs, Claremont, Wildwood, the Villages, and Leesburg, you'll see a high of 90, Orlando 91, and then Titusville 88, and really our coastal communities, you'll see a high of 80 in the upper 80s, but also the winds will be pretty gusty today out of the east, so that can push a little bit of that ocean water on shore. So keep that in mind for today. So as you take a look at your clouds and rain forecast, a few isolated showers pushing in over Flagler and parts of Volusia County as we go through the afternoon hours. And this is all thanks to our East Coast sea breeze. It will be strong enough to push in those showers and storms, but look how hit or miss they are. And then a few downpours are certainly possible. The severe weather threat is fairly low. And then a few showers are expected to linger as we head into tonight, but not a complete washout if you have any Friday night plans. So the National Hurricane Center has increased the tropical formation chances for that area, that that's highlighted in the Gulf of Mexico. Now in orange, a 40%. So that's the development zone. If you look at the Bay of Campeche, that is the southwestern part of the Gulf of Mexico. We are tracking a tropical wave. It is very unorganized. It doesn't look like much, but as it lifts to the north and northeast, some development is expected. It will be very slow, but wind shear should keep it weak. If it gets a name as we head into early next week, the next name on the list is Milton. But a lot of models are not showing a strong storm, but it is showing a lot of tropical rain, tropical moisture moving into central and south Florida. So let's go ahead and take a look at the GFS model here, just kind of painting a picture of what to expect. So you see that little swirl in that circle that I have there? That's that broad area of low pressure trying to organize. As we head into our Monday and Tuesday, that tropical moisture getting pushed in by a cold front that will be moving through Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. So great weather for them, but it's going to push in the moisture into our area, increasing those rain chances. And we could potentially see tropical depression this weekend or early next week. So the rainfall forecast as of right now, a good chunk of our area receiving between 2 to 3 inches. And if you live closer to the East Coast, the rain chances will be much higher according to this model. Some spots could get between 4 to 5 inches, even locally higher amounts. Now, zooming things out, if you are going to South Florida or going anywhere across the South Florida region, rain chances or the rainfall potential will be much higher, between 5 to even 7 inches of rainfall expected as we head into early next week. So I do want to talk about now Hurricane Kirk. A lot to talk about in terms of the tropics. Look at how it looks here on the satellite imagery. It is so impressive. And when I say impressive, this is a textbook look, that pinwheel look, all of the convection, those thunderstorms wrapping around the eye of this system. That eye is cleared out, just showing the magnitude and the strength of this hurricane. So as of right now, packing winds 145 miles per hour, moving to the northwest at 10 miles per hour. It's not going to bother anyone. It's going to hold on to its Category 4 strength through Saturday and then continue to weaken as it moves over cooler waters, and then eventually turn into a tropical storm later on this week, around Wednesday, Thursday. But as I mentioned before, it is going to indirectly impact our coast. So rip currents will be high or strong, minor coastal flooding, and then again, that rough surf expected through today and also the weekend. Also, we have Tropical Storm Leslie swirling out in the central Atlantic. It's expected to become our next hurricane Saturday afternoon, and it looks like it'll take a similar path to Kirk, curving out to sea. So that's great. Strong hurricanes staying out of the way and not really bothering any land. So that's what we like to see. So here's a look at your 7-day forecast. 91 today, 20% chance for showers and storms, 89 tomorrow, another 20%, and then rain chances go up to 50% on Sunday, and then we're around that 70% mark Monday and Tuesday. Even Wednesday, that can be upped a little bit. So we're looking at a lot of rain heading our way, Crystal.
And Michelle, I've always been so curious about these fish storms when you have hurricanes out to sea. Like, are there fish or sharks or anything that gets swept up into the storm, kind of like like Sharknadoes? I'm curious. These are some pretty intense storms with like 50 mile per hour winds. And
yes. Well, you know what? All I know
Steve,
is
don't even. Steve is behind you with his hands on his head.
Yeah, well, no, it's a really good question. All I know is that with marine animals, they do have sensors on their body, so they can tell when there's an incoming storm. So that just gives them the signal to go deeper underwater. So I really don't think they get sucked up into these storms. I took marine biology in high school. Be quiet, Steve. So I know.
I wasn't looking for the science. It's all good. I'm just curious.
No, they don't get sucked up into the storm. They just swim away or just go deeper into the water. But it does create very, very like rough surf, obviously like violent surf, to be honest. So, but yet I don't know where that term came from. Fish storms.
I don't know, but I did like what you mentioned earlier during the show. If you are heading to the beach this weekend or you have friends or family visiting, just be careful. A lot of rip current risk. Swim near a lifeguard. Even if you're strong or maybe not a strong swimmer, just stay closer to shore. Just make sure you and your family members are safe. We do so many stories on people getting swept up in those rip currents. So
Yeah, and you just covered a story earlier this morning about a gentleman that passed away because of a strong rip current. So it does happen, and it happens to the strongest swimmers. And a lot of people, they come visit Florida. It's the
Mm-hmm.
hot spot for the beaches. So you have to really pay attention to those flags. And we always tell you, it's a huge recommendation to swim near a lifeguard because they're trained for these type of situations.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. It's been such a fun morning, fun few days with you on the morning show. So, go get
Yes.
some rest, go relax. We'll see you during the cut-ins on News 6 and at noon.
Well, thank you for having me on your show.
Bridget's show. I'm just borrowing it for today.
I know, but you have a name for it. Well, it's temporary. It's temporary. What's the name of your show?
What is it? Is it croissants with Crystal?
Thank you for having me on temporary croissants with
Croissants.
Crystal.
All right, let's
Okay.
pass it on to the guy behind you. I'm talking Trooper Steve with your traffic. I know he's back there making faces, but he's the one having the most fun with me in the morning. So don't even. You were right on my level. 5 a.m. today.
I was
at the
on
desk.
your level.
And let me tell you,
Yes.
Steve cringes when I say Friday. And today he almost said it on the air. He was like,
It almost
Friday.
came out of my mouth.
I
I was like, it's Friday.
I'm rubbing off
Kinda
on him,
thing, 'cause I
guys.
refuse to see. Yeah.
I'm
Well, the
rubbing
energy
off
was
on
good
him.
this morning. We had a good time. It's Friday. We were all kind of on the same, thank goodness this week is over kind of mentality. And we had some good stories. And I would say it is nice because we've been so worried about the storms that are
Oh,
out
yeah.
there. And to see that at least that the National Weather Service is giving the information to our Met team to say, hey, look, you can calm people down a little bit, that eases me down. So I'm just ready for a long nap weekend, that 50 to 70 Monday, and I'll take it all. I'll
So
take
Steve
every
got a
bit
new
of it.
couch. Steve has a huge couch
Yes.
now. All of his
Massive
his
couch.
daughters fit on the couch.
Yes.
So he's ready to get home and get comfortable. One day he'll invite me over, so
Yeah.
I'll get to sit on it too. I
My
don't know.
wife keeps saying that she's like, you don't invite anybody over to the house, and I'm always like, because I
She's
don't
like, "Do you have
anybody."
friends?"
I go, I have no friends, no friends at all. I just go to work, smile, shake hands, kiss babies, and then come back home.
We'll plan something.
So-
I gotcha.
Yeah. So let's hit the roads real quick. I'll give you your traffic update because things are a little interesting out there at the moment. That is not what you want to see. So I'm going to switch the graphic. There it is. This is going to be northbound 429. So I love this because it just cleared up maybe 5 seconds ago. So all your lanes are now back open. We had some major issues northbound as you approach Topeka, Vineland, the Maitland area. Vehicle fire turned into minor crash, had that right lane blocked for us for quite some time. That doesn't mean that the delays are not there. It does not mean that it's no longer a construction zone. So I do need you to make sure you're paying attention. Please increase that following distance so we don't have a secondary crash within that area. But right now, you are back up to speed with some northbound delays. Odd thing is, we always see them in the southbound lane. So this morning, not really messing people up. Disabled vehicle, westbound along 408, closer to kind of OBT, not slowing you down, but what is that morning commute out there right now, westbound along 408 from Azalea Park, 436 into downtown. No crash out there, thank goodness, but there is a minor crash off of 436 Cimarron Boulevard at Cornelia Avenue. That's just going to be north of 408. Excuse me, what am I talking about here? North of State Road 50 on 436. But as we cruise around the rest of Central Florida, looking pretty good right here. East and westbound along 528, nice and smooth there. Florida Turnpike with also no problems. I just saw an issue out on there. I want to check on something real quick. Nope, and it's clear. So we're going to keep on moving down to Point Siena. Good morning to you guys. Starting to see those delays as you're coming out of the Point Siena area, Point Siena Parkway, seeing it with some minor delays eastbound in our attractions. So not too bad out there. Cypress Parkway towards Pleasant Hill, bumper to bumper this morning, and we jump out to Melbourne. Good morning to you guys. Great day to maybe head out and look at the beach, but we've been reporting on those rip currents, so you need to make sure you're cautious when you're hitting the weather out there. I just saw a wiper blade on a camera on Michelle's thing, and it spooked me for a second. I was like, what is going on out there? But again, just before you hit the road, make sure you're paying attention to 429. Outside of that, Crystal, no serious crashes. We kind of got rid of that earlier this week. Today, I'll be out on patrol 10 a.m. talking about when you are not allowed to ride on the shoulders of the roadway. There is a time when you are authorized to do so. But easy answer, I can answer it in 15 seconds, but I dedicate 15 to 20 minutes for common sense answers. So join me today at 10 a.m. ClickOrlando.com, News 6 Plus, and then, of course, our amazing producer, Thomas Mates, has now streaming all our stuff, even on YouTube, live. So it's cool.
Fantastic.
We get questions, and if you ask questions, he gets in my ear and lets me know what's going on. So join me, ClickOrlando.com. Have a safe weekend, guys. I'll be at the Blue Line Gala just as a guest on Saturday, supporting our sheriff's organizations. But hopefully Sunday's nap day, so we'll see what happens.
On that new couch.
Yes,
Thanks,
ma'am.
Trooper Steve. Looking forward to Trooper Steve on patrol, 10 a.m. Thanks. All
See ya.
right, so getting to some serious news here because it's just a disturbing story out of Seminole County. There is a high school teacher and coach waking up in jail this morning after reportedly having some inappropriate contact with a student. Now, this is 55-year-old Richard Colon. He was a social studies teacher at Lake Mary High School and assistant girls soccer coach. He was arrested yesterday and immediately placed on administrative leave, according to the school. Although no details have been released about specifics of the allegations, we do know that this involves, quote, inappropriate contact with a student. The principal of Lake Mary High School says they're working with law enforcement as the investigation continues, and Cologne is expected to appear before a judge later on today. As soon as we find out some more details, we'll, of course, let you know during our show on News 6 and on ClickOrlando.com. We'll keep updating our story there. And if you're up with us early this morning, you heard about the Vulcan Centaur rocket. Now, it was supposed to go off earlier this morning at around 6 o'clock. It got put on hold. And then it was supposed to go off again at 6:30 to launch. Got put on hold again for some issues. We're not sure exactly what the issues were, but it did eventually launch just around 7:25. Here's some video of that liftoff. Beautiful morning out there from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. So the United Launch Alliance, this is their powerful Vulcan Centaur rocket. It's supposed to be a lot cheaper. A lot of the parts on this rocket are actually supposed to be reusable, and that's why it's going to be replacing, hopefully, the Atlas V and Delta IV heavy rockets. So this is the second test flight for Vulcan Centaur, and so far, so good. We haven't heard about any issues yet. Those two holds. And then it ended up having a successful launch. So we'll see what happens with the Vulcan Centaur. I just like saying that. It's a unique name. And we do have an update on the strike. You know, there's thousands of dock strikers who are now back on the job today after the union came up with a deal. So the union represents about 45,000 striking dock workers, and they say they've reached a deal to stop that strike until January 15th. And that's relief for a lot of us folks because we depend on these workers for a lot of shipments that come from the ports around our area. The union says they've reached a tentative deal with the U.S. Maritime Alliance, which includes a $4 per hour raise. So again, that strike has ended until at least January 15th because of that new deal. Of course, it still has to be approved by those union workers. And as soon as we get any information or any updates, we'll let you know as well. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back with Breakfast with Bridgett. I'm Crystal Moyer filling in after a short break. Welcome back to Breakfast with Bridgett. We appreciate you joining us on News 6 Plus, ClickOrlando.com, YouTube, wherever you are joining us from. Bridgett has a day off, so you guys have croissants with Crystal today. Happy Friday. And it is October. September just flew by, but we do not want to forget that September was Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And we do have a special guest with us. He's actually a colleague of mine, Tom Vielkind. Welcome. Thank you for joining us early this morning. You've been on the show before talking about your experience with Make-A-Wish Foundation. And for folks who are not aware, Tom has survived and battled childhood cancer himself. So if you could tell us a little bit about your experience and what you went through as a young child.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Crystal. And I'm a behind the scenes person here for you guys who don't know me. I'm a producer and I don't always get to step in front of the camera. So I'm going to do my best to keep the nerves down a little bit. So like Crystal was saying, I was on Breakfast with Bridgett in late March talking about Make-A-Wish Foundation, something, an organization that's close to me through my journey with cancer. I was diagnosed with leukemia on June 26th of 2013. I was, I was 14 years old, just finished my freshman year of high school. was starting to get like a stomach bug. My dad, my brother also had a stomach bug, and they got better, and I did not. So for about 2.5, probably 3 weeks ish, no, probably closer to 2.5 weeks, I was, progressively getting sicker and sicker. And this whole time, it's a stomach bug running through the house and everyone's going to get it. And eventually, he's not getting better. And my parents took me to the doctor. They thought it was mono at first. They ordered a blood test. And from the blood test, they could tell that I had cancer.
Wow.
1/4 of my blood cells were cancerous.
Mm.
They didn't say it at the time, but come to find out, that's about stage 3 leukemia. And craziest thing was that usually you can't tell unless it's through a bone marrow biopsy. The bone marrow is a part of your body. Crazy, I've become a biology expert from this. The bone marrow is a part of the body that creates your blood. So usually you have to do a biopsy of your bone marrow to be able to tell. But it was so prevalent in my blood that they were able to just see it under a high school microscope.
And Tom, I mean, being diagnosed with leukemia freshman year of high school, kids, teens, their focus is usually on school, right? Growing into young men and women, having to deal with cancer at such a young age. What was your reaction, number one, to being diagnosed with leukemia, and how did that affect your experiences in high school?
Well, it wasn't normal. So first thing, when I was, when I got the news, when I woke up, I was surrounded by family. My father was in business in Chicago, so he had to fly home. Funny enough, the 27th of June, the day after I was diagnosed, was my parents' wedding anniversary. So they got, it was crazy timing. But, we try to look at things on the bright side. My dad was able to come home and spend the anniversary with my mom. So we try to look at the bright side of things. But yeah, my first instinct was just, how are we going to beat this? What are we going to do? What do we got to do? There is no other choice. And yeah, one of the first people to come visit me. So right after I was diagnosed, I spent 21 of the first 27 days in the hospital in 3 separate stints. I kept getting readmitted, because there were fevers. Fevers mean infections. Leukemia, the kind that I had, was a white blood cell cancer, which is your body's immune system, your defense system. Any kind of infection potentially could be life-threatening. So anytime there's a fever, that could be an infection. We got to go back in. We got to figure out what's going on. So one of the first people to visit me in the hospital in that stint was my high school principal. I went to a very small high school. I graduated with 85 kids. So it was very close. It was very tight-knit. And he was like, we'll do whatever you want to do. And I was like, no, I want to graduate with my classmates. My doctors wanted me to take 2 years off of school. I said, I'm not doing that. So I was the original Zoom U patient, or Zoom U student. I was, FaceTiming into class from the hospital. I was treated in New York City. I'm from about 2 hours north. So yeah, I was FaceTiming into class. I was doing everything that I could to stay on track with my classmates and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the other person who came to visit me very early on was our head football coach. And I missed pretty much my entire freshman season because of a leg injury. And I was like, Coach, I'm playing again. You can't stop me. And the doctors, you can't stop me either. And yeah, that was kind of my goal throughout the whole thing, was play again. And senior year, I did.
That's incredible. And, were you shocked to find, as you were meeting more kids and families who were affected by childhood cancer, how prevalent it is? And why do you think it's important for people to bring awareness?
So what is cancer? Cancer is rapid, uncontrolled cell growth. And, when you're a kid, your cells are young. It's the more cells grow, the more chance there is for that to happen. When you're a kid, it just isn't that. It's not as likely, statistically speaking. So yeah, it was kind of shocking. The American Cancer Society came out a couple of days ago and said 9,600 kids are going to be diagnosed with cancer this year alone. And last year they said about 1,600 kids will not survive. So this is an issue that touches a lot of kids and a lot of families. And it's not only during treatment. The American Childhood Cancer Organization, sorry, I have notes down here. That's why I'm looking down. They said 2 out of 3 survivors will have chronic health conditions long after, years after, for the rest of their life, even after treatment is over. And those can include heart damage, more cancers, lung damage, infertility, cognitive impairment, growth deficits, even hearing loss. So this can impact, and there could be wide-ranging impacts for years
Mm-hmm.
down the line. So it's not just the time that you're undergoing chemotherapy. It's years. It can be years down the line.
Wow. Wow. Well, we so appreciate you joining us here on Breakfast with Bridgett. Again, this is one of my colleagues, producer here at News 6, Tom Vielkind. I wish we had more time to talk to you, but, uh, survived cancer, leukemia as a teen, as a child, and thriving, producing our newscast. It's just incredible. You're an inspiration to not only us here at News 6, but our
Thank you.
viewers and other families, going through this. And we appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Crystal, can I leave you with one more thing?
Of course
And
you
this is
can.
just something that happened that during my treatment. And like I said, I was treated in New York City. My mom and I would take a bus every morning over to the hospital. And there was one day when I was sitting down and the bus driver looked at me as an elderly woman was coming on the bus and said, "Hey, can you get up and give her your seat?" My mom wanted to rip his head off because she's like, he is battling cancer right now. And he didn't know, and he apologized to us. And that's the thing, is you never know what someone else is going through. Um, so whenever someone's having a bad day, you never know why they may be having a bad day. To just treat everyone with grace, because you never know what they're going through.
Thank you so much, Tom. A great way to end this. And again, we'll be back on Monday with Breakfast with Bridgett. And if you stick around to News 6 Plus, Trooper Steve on patrol will be streaming at 10 a.m. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for joining us.